With the 15th pick of the 2023 MLB Draft, the Chicago White Sox select Jacob Gonzalez, a shortstop from the University of Mississippi.
I'm just going to tell you, Jacob Gonzalez is one of my favorite players in this draft class. Left-handed bat, Ole Miss. You faced him a lot, Jay. What stood out?
Good skill. I'm not surprised he got drafted high because he's performed for 3 years. He's got a great background. His dad, Jess Gonzalez, great high school coach in Southern California. This guy really knows how to play. Walks more than he strikes out, controls the zone. Good defender. Might be able to move all around the infield. It's a great pick.
With the 51st pick of the 2023 MLB Draft, the Chicago White Sox select Grant Taylor, a right-handed pitcher from LSU. All right, Jay, so this is a young man that made huge strides from his freshman year. What worked and clicked for him?
You know, it's really a tribute to Grant because he missed the entire season due to an injury, but he was so good in the fall for us and so good in the Cape Cod League. He's still getting picked at 51. It's an explosive fastball up to 98, really good downer, breaking ball.
So
Sky's
he didn't
the limit.
pitch this year?
He did not pitch this year for us.
Holy smokes, that's amazing.
And they still won the College World Series. I mean, he's probably a first-round pick.
No question about it.
The Chicago White Sox select Seth Keener, a right-handed pitcher from Wake Forest, San Francisco.
Going with collegiate talent here for the south side of Chicago. Again, starting out with Grant Taylor yesterday. How does Keener kind of balance that?
Well, he's super interesting because Wake Forest, we saw him in the College World Series. They finished third. They were number one in the country before that. Had one of the best. They had the best pitching staff in the country. So he spent a lot of this year in relief. But I talked to a lot of scouts who think he's going to be a starter. He gave up just 3 earned runs his first 43 innings this year. Finished among the NCAA Division I leaders in WHIP. He was second, third in opponent average. The slider's his best pitch. It's mid-80s, 2-plane depth. He can land it in the zone for strikes. He can make you chase it out of the zone. He doesn't use the fastball as much, but that's 91, 97, and there's feel for change and good control. So this is a potential starter.
Chicago White Sox select Calvin Harris, a catcher from the University of Mississippi, San Francisco.
So the Mississippi product here, Calvin Harris, moved into being an everyday catcher for them this year. Doesn't profile to be, sometimes we talk about it, Jim, those guys who just outgrow the position. They get too tall, and the organization has to figure out what to do with him. Does he stick as that next White Sox backstop?
Yeah, I think he's going to stay a catcher. And, Ole Miss has had 7 catchers drafted in the last 10 years. He had one of the best games of the season. He hit 4 homers in a single game on May 6th against Missouri. And he, like you mentioned, he didn't start last year. They had Hayden Dunhurst, who's one of the better catchers in college baseball, and then won the College World Series. He's got a good swing, kind of a gap-to-gap approach, athletic for a catcher, needs to clean up the receiving and improve the arm strength a little bit, but he will. You're drafting him as a catcher.
Chicago White Sox select Christian Opper, a left-handed pitcher from Gulf Coast Community College, San Francisco.
So when you talk about looking for lefties, this is another one. Gulf Coast Community College. Again, Florida just always finds a way to produce talent. Gulf Coast is not one to be overlooked. We're only 18 years old. Where do you see him growing in Chicago?
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting parts here. Actually had been drafted by Oakland as one of the rare draft and follows, but didn't come to terms. Came out of the gate this year. It looked like they may need to want to find a way to sign him. He was up to 98 miles per hour. That kind of backed up. Doesn't maintain it through his start. The secondary stuff is a work in progress, but he really worked to incorporate that stuff more. It's a kind of a slurvy breaking ball in the upper 70s. There's some feel for a bit of a changeup. He's a former basketball player. He's athletic, just some added strength, and there might be a pretty good ceiling here.
Chicago White Sox select Lucas Gordon, a left-handed pitcher from the University of Texas, San Francisco.
For Gordon, the short, quick arm action, a 2.63 ERA, 17 starts this year. Had about a quarter chance at a strikeout rate this year. Does he stay in the rotation?
Chicago White Sox select George Wolko, an outfielder from Downers Grove North High School, San Francisco.
Another big guy here, 6'7", Walcott jumping out for his size, but he's also got some left-hand power.
Well, I think the lesson here is don't listen to me, because when I was filling time by talking about how we aren't going to see the top high school guys go anymore, and they probably aren't going to be signable, maybe they're late, early day 3 guys, George Walkow is a guy. I mean, he's much better than a 7th-round pick. I mean, he's 6'7", 239, reclassified to this year's draft. And, I mean, look at him. I mean, you're watching him. You can see where that ball landed, but I bet it landed pretty far away from home plate. I mean, he's got strength. He's got leverage. He's got massive power. Really good athlete for the size. Local product for the White Sox. If they can sign him in the 7th round, and again, if they took him here, you think he can, that's a steal of a pick.
Chicago White Sox select Eddie Park, an outfielder from Stanford University, San Francisco.
Well, Park was another who was instrumental in taking the Cardinal to 3 consecutive College World Series appearances, an absolutely decorated career for him, and he finishes with his best season this year.
Yeah, he did everything uptick just a little bit, including the impact at the bat, and that's probably the most encouraging thing. He's always had really, really good contact skills. He walked more than he struck out over his course of his career at Stanford. He runs well. He plays a very good defensive center field.
Chicago White Sox select Jake Peppers, a right-handed pitcher from Jacksonville State University, San Francisco.
Peppers came in a 4.81 ERA, 58 innings pitched in total. Plenty of room to fill out. He's 6'3", 160 pounds, but he's already got a fastball sitting mid to upper 90s.
Yeah, no, he's a guy who's going to get better. He's listed 6'3", 160, so super projectable. You know, they play a lot of SEC teams in midweek games at Jacksonville State. He allowed 1 run with 11 strikeouts, 9 2/3 innings against that kind of competition. And he played well. He pitched well in the Cape Cod League, so that helped him as well. You know, 93, 95. He can keep that velocity, too, even though he's not physically strong or doesn't look physically strong. He keeps that velocity, touches 98 with a flat approach angle, has a 2-plane slider. I think that's an upside pick right there.
Chicago White Sox select Zach Franklin, a right-handed pitcher from the University of Missouri, San Francisco.
Zach Franklin, a 6-3 record, 7.45 ERA, 19 walks in 20 games, though 19 of those were coming out of the bullpen. Are we talking strikeout to walk ratio here again?
A little bit. I mean, I was going to go velocity, though. I was going to change
velocity.
it up. I'm not going to just hammer the same thing. But like, how would you have thought I would have done strikeout to walk ratio? And his actually isn't bad, but he's all about velocity, 96, 97 miles an hour at times with the fastball.
Chicago White Sox select Riku Nishida, a second baseman from the University of Oregon. Chicago White Sox select Matthias Lacombe, a right-handed pitcher from Cochise College. Chicago White Sox select Ryan Galaney, a third baseman from Wofford College. Chicago White Sox select Edric Felix, a second baseman from Florida Gulf Coast University. Chicago White Sox select Carlton Perkins, a right-handed pitcher from Cali County Community College.
The Chicago White Sox select Weston Eberle, a catcher from Columbia University. The Chicago White Sox select Mikey Kane, an infielder from Oregon State University. The Chicago White Sox select Anthony Imhoff, a left-handed pitcher from Pima Community College.
The White Sox select Caden Connor, a first baseman from Cal State Fullerton.
Chicago White Sox select Garrett Wright, right-hander pitcher from TCU.